Hey there, welcome back to Reddit Dating, the best channel for Reddit cheating stories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more stories like these. Now, let's get into the video. I was routed to the spot when found wife's evidence of cheating in my own track. When I discovered evidence of my wife's adultery in my own track, I was led to the location. 10 years married, 2 beautiful, bright children, 10-year-old girl and 3-year-old son, purchasing our home, and now going through the process of a divorce. My wife and I had had complete trust in one another for the first 9 years of our marriage. This was true until I discovered she had lied to me. Then the lies began to emerge from the shadows of the shadows of the shadows. She announced that she was heading to her girlfriend's place one day, and afterwards I discovered that she had not gone to the house, but had instead gone to another man's place, according to a text message. When she fell asleep, I didn't say anything to her, but I did start paying closer attention to the text she was sending on her phone while she was sleeping. During the same week, I received a text from another guy in which he expressed his desire to have the entire group to himself. I then awoke at 2 a.m. and confronted her about the 2 texts she had received. The following day, she called the first guy and informed him that she would no longer be able to come over to cut his hair because it was causing marital problems. She put the phone on speakerphone so that I could hear all she was saying during the chat. His response was, "I understand that you're not just looking for a haircut. My wife has been suffering from kidney stones for a couple of months now. She is found to have kidney illness and is hospitalized. Her pain is treated by a doctor who is recommended by the cadets. Although she had previously taken them for menstrual cramps, I had never noticed that they were an issue. A few days later, she phones me at work and informs me that her bottle of medicines has gone missing. She then proceeded to accuse my friend of stealing the items. I went through the entire house seeking for these tablets because they were about to bring a friendship to an end. I found them in the bathroom. I looked everywhere for the pills but couldn't find anything till a few days later. I discovered a pill bottle in her purse in her car that contained 31 of these Vicodins, and the bottle did not have a name on it at the time. At the time, I was on my way to work. I didn't tell her where I had discovered these drugs. It's impossible for me to have missed them. Her phone rings later in the day, and she tells me she has called her doctor to inform him that the bottle has been taken. As a result, the doctor prescribed her another script. She tells me that the doctor was convinced of her story and that she hopes to make it to the pharmacy before they close for the night prior. I, on the other hand, go and pick up the script after work, but I first call her to make sure she was okay with it. She instructs you to pick them up and report back to her on how many there are and what strength they are. As a result, I didn't contact her back and instead waited for her to arrive home later that night. As soon as she went through the door, her first thought was, "Where are my pills?" She then places her purse on the floor. Immediately upon arriving home, I opened the cabinet to see if the bottle I had seen earlier was still there. It was the case. So she wants to order lunch, and I go and pick it up for her, but I do so in her car instead of mine. In her car, I discover the unlabeled bottle of tablets in her console, which she had forgotten about. When I got home, I tucked them inside my pocket and went into the house to eat. When I finished eating, I put my food container away and went to get the new script. When I returned to the table, I pulled the unmarked bottle out of the drawer and placed it on the table. "What was your reasoning for taking them out of my car?" she inquired. "Was wondering what the hell you were doing driving around with my kids with an unlabeled bottle of drugs in your possession." She's similar to the way my pals offer them to me. No one is going to get off of that many drugs for free, no matter how much they want to. It's not going down well with me. And it's a little strange that the number of pills in this container is the same as the number of tablets that have just gone missing. As a result of this, a friendship was put on the line. I inform her that I will be departing for the night and that I will be bringing the boy with me. She tells him, "Sack, I've got an issue. It's a pleasure for me to take them." I told him to think about it over the weekend. I'm in charge. She, on the other hand, does not want me to bring my son along. I take the boy into his room to get him dressed, and she walks into the room and sits down in front of the door blocking it, so that when I tell her she's going to move or I'm going to move her, she doesn't move or I don't move her. So that's what I did. She is by no means a delicate woman. However, I am within my capacities to relocate. During the relocation, everything went smoothly. I left a bruise on her arm as a result of my actions. After dropping my son off at his friend's house, I go for the night. I return in the morning, since I had taken her car so she wouldn't be able to go for the night. This occurred on a Friday, and on Saturday, I sat her down and presented her with the alternatives. Divorce can be either a stalemate or a successful partnership. If she wanted to make it work, she could. Marriage counseling is required, and she is required to get assistance with the drugs. She agrees, and we begin attending a professional counselor. She makes it through 4 sessions before she decides to give up. I've continued to go and will continue to go indefinitely. After she gets out of the car, I discover an unopened protection package in my pickup a few weeks later. After a few more weeks, her buddy contacts me to tell me that she is no longer able to continue to believe my wife's falsehoods. It is she who informs me that my wife has acknowledged to having an extramarital affair with a number of other men. However, when I inquired of my wife, she stated that I merely told her that in order to make her feel better about the termination. Getting a hold of her phone and listening to her voicemails is exactly what I need to do next. I receive a message that asks, "Why are you spreading rumors about your relationship with each other?" I'm now completely and utterly heartbroken. However, you must continue to strive to make it work, despite the fact that I now have a full-time job as a detective. My family and I travel to the north for the 4th of July, and when I return, I find a text from my ex-girlfriend saying she had another man in my house while I was away. It just doesn't seem to come to an end. The 20th of August. The phone rings and it's my father calling to tell me that he has been diagnosed with cancer. 4 weeks later, he passes. 5 days before he passes, I find my wife at this guy's house, and so I took her car and drove it home, just to let her know I know what she's doing. Then, all heck broke loose that night. A few weeks later, I find her cell phone in her car, and I watched her type in the lock code the night before. So I unlocked it to find a text chat with the guy she was with when I took her car. They're telling each other that they love each other and they're meant for each other. Also, they say that they hope this all passes soon and they'll get through it together. I take a picture of her phone with this message. I showed it to her father to show him she's lying to him also. He's a year old. Next day, someone cut my transmission lines. I call the cops and go back into the house to ask her what her boyfriend's last name was. She immediately calls the cops. She gets them there faster and tells them I was threatening her. I merely asked her a question. Later that afternoon, I hired a lawyer time for the divorce to start, but she's already filed. Monday, I come home for lunch. She's passed out and the 3-year-old is awake. I take her phone out of her hand and hide it. Tuesday, her and I are texting all morning. I come home for lunch. She's not home. I find her at the park with her boyfriend and my son. I pull in and start taking picture. I get into a little confrontation with the boyfriend. He grabbed my arm and I got in his face and told him I had every reason to kick Jose. Before I leave to go back to work, I try and kiss my wife to make him jealous. I also tell her I'm going to be fighting for my kids as she don't need them. I go back to work, and when I came home, she was baiting me to come home. An hour later, the cops are there and arresting me for domestic issues. She has a witness that says I tried to enter slammed her against the car, and it's not her boyfriend. I spent 21 hours in jail for something I didn't do and now have to prove my innocence. I've been ordered out of my house. All I got is the clothes on my back. She went and got a pro against me as well. She changed the locks too, so I can't get in to get my stuff. Now I'm on an emotional roller coaster. What could possibly happen next? What should I watch for?